right, so we will call to order. Welcome, everybody. It's 6:37. We are calling to order our January 14th board meeting. So we go over the meeting agenda tonight. So we are going to go over our public comments section. We do have a section, every meeting to allow for public comment, 3 minutes based on what's on the agenda. We'll go through that. I know we're going to have a time in the meeting today to actually review our public comments policy and see if anything needs to be adjusted there. As usual, we will review and vote on our prior board meeting minutes. It's been a little while. It's been since November since we've met. Then we have a vote for term extensions for both Kate George and Scott Farber, who've come up against their 1-year term. And that's a process we have for new board members. Once they reach a year, we discuss extending them for the 2 more years of their term. Then I'll turn it over to the administration team. I know Heather's got some budget discussion for us to look, a revision to look at. We have Karen. So Karen emailed me, so I'll have a report out for the PTO and then a finance update from Kevin, a board discussion that's to do with our public comment guidelines, and then an update from our committees, and then any board goals, next steps. I know we've got some interested board candidates. We've got some on the line tonight, and then a closeout by Stacy. Did I miss anything from an agenda perspective? Okay. All right, then I will move on along to our public comment area. And if you guys have anything that you'd like to come off mute, just put your name in the chat from public comment perspective. And also, I think we have an interested candidate on board meeting currently. Okay. Bash. Okay, so let me. Any interested board candidates, Sarah and Bash, if you want to come off mute and just use the time to introduce yourself to the board and anything you'd like to share about your interest in joining the board.
Okay, this is Sarah Vallejo. Sorry, my voice is a little hoarse right now. I've got the flu. But I'm very interested in joining the board. I had the chance to present in the November meeting about some of the intentions focusing on STEM and STEAM education. I had the chance to meet with 3 board members over the month of December, and I'm just very interested in joining the team. A lot of people know me from the community, and I'm excited to bring my talents to the board in a different light.
Thanks, Sarah. All right, thank you, Sarah.
Hello, everyone. I'm Basha. It's really hard to follow Sarah after such fantastic introduction, but I am new to the IMO community. My daughter just started first grade this year in Park's classroom, and it's been a very peaceful and smooth transition for us after coming from Bay Meadows. So we really appreciate the warm welcome. As part of my involvement in the school, I joined the PTO as a treasurer and have been serving since, I would say, October officially, and really helping the team to think about our expenses and fundraising efforts. Would love to be part of the board and help contribute my skill set. I am a CPA with many years of experience in both public and private accounting, as well as budget management and project management. So would love to serve in any way we can. I really would hope this to be a lasting relationship as my kids go through many years of school here.
Awesome. Thank you, Basha.
Yep.
Hey, any other, check in the chat here. Do you see anything?
I do not know.
Okay, going once, going twice. All right, we will continue on then. Next, we have to approve our minutes from November 12th. So those are posted in board docs and follow the new procedure that others can see it. On the meeting, it's draft out there to review our minutes.
Yeah, everything looks good to me. I'll make a motion to approve the November 12th board members or board minutes. Second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, minutes are approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, our next discussion and vote is the term extensions for Kate George and Scott Farber.
I'll go and take this. First, I want to always thank anybody who comes to the board for their service, because this is, you know, it's a work of the heart to come and just support and volunteer the time and effort. So just want to really thank Scott and Kate for the year and stepping into these roles to help support our board any way possible. So thank you to both of them. At this time, we did get information that Scott will not be continuing on, so we will not be renewing his term. But I would like to put a vote out there to extend Kate's term 3 more years, I think is what we agreed on, right?
I heard 2.
Oh, okay, I tried to speak one more. 2 more years. So I'll go ahead and put that vote out there.
I would second that. Happy to second that motion. I think Kate's been a great addition to the board. Happy to have you here. You really dove in and contributed in a lot of meaningful ways in the first year. So 3 more years sounds good to me.
6 more.
We'll just write it with Sharpie a minute now. All right, all those in favor of extending Kate's term?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, Kate, you are officially with us for, I think, 3 more years. So thank you. We appreciate your time and look forward to your continued service. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, well, that brings us to the administration team reports. Turn over to you, Heather.
So I attached some information already, but I'll let the administrators start. So Kathy and John, if you would like to share what's going on in your building, that would be great.
Kathy, do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first? I always say ladies first. That's
John,
fine.
you could go first.
So, a lot of great things still happening on our campus, on the secondary campus. First things, I'd like to let everybody know that we just had our PM2 event, which is the second round of data progress monitoring for the school year. It's always an interesting time when you get this second round, because they just either A, they're just ready to go to Christmas break, so they've kind of checked out, or B, they've just come back. We chose to come back and do it because we really wanted to finish strong. Happy to report that in ELA and in math, we are math, we're trending higher. 7th grade math has gone up a little bit. 8th grade math has gone up significantly. I think when I looked at it, I think it was 8 points. And that's usually a pretty good jump for 8th grade. Algebra and geometry, we don't really have a 9th grade fast and a 10th grade fast, but we have an algebra and geometry district kind of district created test, and we're looking pretty good, and we're already beating our numbers from last year, and 47%, I think, ish was our proficiency. And the second 9-week round, we are beating that in 9th and 10th grade in Algebra 1 and in geometry. So I'm happy there. ELA, 7th and 8th grade ELA doing very strongly in our data. And our 9th grade, we had a bit of a couple of point drop off, and then 10th grade, we've also had a little bit of a drop off as well. But we've already kind of met and decided what our intervention plans are going to be for that moving forward. So largely positive, a little bit of expected kind of bumps in the road for ELA, because we were pretty high coming in at PM1. So, but we have a plan, and we're happy that that Michelle Krause and Chantel has really kind of led that initiative for the high school, and kind of what that plan is going to be like for moving for the third 9 weeks. Another happy thing to report is that Stephen has graciously decided to help us out and allotted some cash for a digital certification tool initiative that we are looking at. The state of Florida does some weird things with funding for CTE. Most other states, they actually just fund you just because they want you to be proficient in in kind of digital citizenship and things like that. Well, in the state of Florida, you have to pass tests for that in order for the state to give you um, uh, some funding. So our plan is to make sure that all of our middle schoolers, 7th and 8th graders on our campus have the opportunity to take some tests, which really just show what they're doing anyway. And for every pass that they get, it's about $100 per pass. So yay, Stephen, thank you. So we're really happy about that. So we look forward to getting some passes coming in, showing what we know, and making sure we can kind of re-up our technology budget. Yay. So that's what we're doing over at the secondary campus.
Very good. Thanks, John. Nature's classroom trip to, sixth grade Nature's classroom trip leaves tomorrow, bright and early. And we've got 53 sixth graders heading for 2 nights and 3 days to Brooksville for a wonderful adventure. We're grateful for Kamani, Julie, Anna and John D, who secondary has graciously lent us as we are short on male chaperones. So those 4 are going to be taking that group to Nature's classroom. They will be chilly, but they will have the time of their lives. Just a reminder to any parent who might be on here to please be sure to be there before 7:20. We have a Worthwhile Wednesday parent meeting, keeping it in upper elementary in Goodall on Wednesday the 22nd at 2:30 p.m. So any parent who is interested in learning about Worthwhile Wednesday for upper elementary, please be sure and show up there. That's an opportunity for parents to share with the children things that they wouldn't normally be exposed to in curriculum. So in the past, the children during Worthwhile Wednesday have learned about stop motion photography, calligraphy, making bonsai trees. They did some sheep's eyeball dissections. So all manner of cool things that they can learn. The children express interest, the teachers put the list out, and then the parents sign up to present workshops. So anyone who thinks they can support with that wonderful experience for the children, please do show up to Goodall at 2:30 on the 22nd. In big news, we've got Dr. Maria Velasquez, who is the superintendent of Orange County Public Schools, going to be visiting IMO, the elementary campus, on Wednesday, the 29th of January. That feels like a big deal to have such a higher up from the district coming to visit our school. We're very, very appreciative of her willingness to come and see all the great things we've got going on. And then the same day, as if that day wasn't exciting enough, Michelle Hamilton is going to offer the second round of conscious parenting workshops, the first one at 9 a.m. and I think the second at 6. Check Parent Square calendar to be sure. But any parent who is interested in being added to the group for those workshops, please shoot me an email. We had some amazing feedback from the last round of that workshop. And that is all I have for you.
Somebody gonna follow along on video a little bit on that day, Kathy?
Oh yes, oh yeah, I'm sure we'll have the full paparazzi out.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, and can I say to Tito, Stephen, and the facilities team have been doing amazing work getting the outside ready. Like, I like to think when visitors are coming to my house, like I'm cleaning my house. It's not just for the visitors, though. It's like it's an excuse to clean the house. Yeah. So I think with Dr. Vasquez coming, it's a good impetus for us to get some things dusted off and polished off, and the place will be looking fantastic.
Can I also kind of share that sentiment about the ops team on that? Our campus is, I can't thank them enough for how well our campus looks as well. It's just, you know, you came back there and the garden team the other day. I don't know if anybody here is on the gardening committee. Thank you so much for what you did this weekend on our campus as well. We came back and I was like, oh, it looks beautiful around here. You know, like the grass was freshly cut. It just looked wonderful. So thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Tito. Thank you, everybody on that team as well. We appreciate it.
I'll let Stephen go on into his then.
No pressure, Stephen.
Not at all. I don't know how I can follow that. From the IT world, I want to thank John, even though he gave me way too much credit. That program that he's coming out with, the tech certifications, is going to be a big deal, not only for being able to provide technology in the classroom for the students, but also tying back to that Montessori curriculum of practical life. Technology is part of practical life. It is not going away. So for John to be able to bring that to us and say, hey, this is a way to accomplish multiple things, that was really outside of the box thinking. And I'm appreciative of the opportunity that we're able to partner on that. For the ops side, I'm really excited of the work Tito and his crew have been doing. Everybody came in tonight. You saw the parking lot lights had been repaired after a hurricane. So they came in over Christmas break and they took care of that for us. That was fantastic. Our lunch program was able to provide some funds, so we were able to replace all of the picnic tables outside.
Very nice, yeah.
And Tito and his guys got those sealed up so that they will stay very nice. So overall, I'm really pleased with where we're coming along. I think the campuses look great, and it is very little to do with me and a lot of hard work on that team. So when you see them, make sure that you give them a pat on the back because they deserve it. From the base department, we are really happy about our Epic Adventure Day. Got about 20 signups already. And we've just kind of marketed that to base parents, but that's open to any IMO student, CASA through upper elementary. That'll be on February 17th, and it's an opportunity for the kids to come. They're going to do a bunch of fun things. We'll cater lunch that day for them, so you don't have to pack a lunch. It's going to be cheeseburgers.
Oh.
So they're going to love that.
Yeah.
And it's an all-day outdoor event. So that's on the website now too. I know Courtney's really excited about getting that going. And then we'll make an announcement in the next, let's say, 2 weeks about signups for spring break camp and summer camp. So those are happening this year, and we're just polishing the last details before we put those signups up.
Cool.
That's all I've got. I appreciate you guys.
A little bit, so going back to the food service, also on the 29th, I think that's what Brittany told me, was we also have our audit. So we will have, so we're gonna have a
Sounds
lot
great.
of things going on that day. So I know she's been working extremely hard to get everything ready. I know she's nervous. And I told her it will be fine. If they find something, we'll fix it. So.
And just let me ask a question too about the camps. So for the spring break and summer camps, did we budget revenue from those programs in this year's budget?
No.
So anything we generate out of that will be incremental?
Yes.
Awesome. Do you guys have any projections on what that looks like?
I have some ideas.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to put them out into the universe yet because this is my first time doing them.
Yeah.
But everything we're doing from a cost perspective is offset by revenue.
Good.
So I expect to return a little bit back to the school, and I expect those to grow. One of the things we heard from the community was our summer camp last year wasn't quite what they were hoping for. So we've taken that as a challenge to go and earn it back and say this is, tying back to that Montessori values.
Was it like a break-even program last year? Or did?
Yeah, I mean, we
know
made,
if we had-
what do you mean,
Not like we're trying to make a lot of money on
Summer?
this, but
Yeah.
anything we get revenue streams just
Yeah,
helps us throughout the operations throughout the year. Like,
yeah, our
that's why
summer,
we do it.
I don't know if, we made some, but it wasn't a lot because it died.
Not enough to
over
budget.
time. Yeah, yeah.
Not enough to budget anything this year.
Right,
Okay.
yeah, and I always would like to have extra than to be wrong on the budget,
Yeah.
so definitely we just said this is our cap for our normal time frame base. We know we are gonna hit cap for that, and then anything extra is extra.
Okay.
So, yeah. So personnel enrollment, so the first one I put on the bullet, it was a little sad, but we did have over break, our MTSS coordinator, elementary counselor, and a math teacher at secondary to resign. So we're working to try to combine classes and or reassign depending on the needs. One of the other things that we have taken a hit on, as you'll see, is our enrollment. And so that's something that I have already shared with Kathy and John. Kiana and Cindy are working really hard about getting kids in. So you can see like upper elementary, we're down 14 students, and secondary 33 students. And so with that, we're not replacing employees that left because of the cost for that. I will say, John and Cindy have already planned, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit to start trying to showcase the secondary a little bit better. So John, would you just share what you all have planned?
So realizing that, first of all, our wait list is we've cleared and contacted everybody on that wait list. Some of them that we did contact, honestly, I don't because of the extended services they might need. We probably are not able to support those students. So there really isn't a lot on our wait list. So what we have, kind of Cindy and I, and really I'm going to give credit to Cindy on this. She had a great idea. She sat down and said, "Hey, listen, why don't we try to have like an event where we can bring anybody who has been on our wait list in the past because she's a meticulous record keeper, as you can probably imagine, and contact them to offer them an open house night. And so next week we are going to have an open house night where we have contacted, and I think it was as of Friday, it was 19 or 20 people that were already signed up to come. I don't know if it's more than that. I did not check this morning. But a significant number of people to try to eat away at some of those, some of that deficit that we have on the secondary campus. So that's the immediate thing that we're trying to do. And we're also really trying to make the high school kind of experience a little bit special because we did see a lot of drop off from the 8th grade to 9th grade. That's where we're seeing a big deficit. So kind of brainstorming what can that look like to make sure that our 8th graders see the horizon so they don't feel the need to just go on to a traditional, a comprehensive high school. How can we capture them and kind of make them feel included? That's already started at our next community day for high school. The 9th graders will be included so they can feel more like they're in high school, again, to make sure that we're able to retain. So it's not only just attracting folks from the outside, but it's also retaining. And it's little things like I've asked Coach for this weekend to see if we couldn't tag along with we're already marching in the winter. I almost said Winter Springs. Nope, not Winter Springs. Winter Garden in the parade on MLK Day. So why can't some of our high school athletes tag along to show the community, hey, listen, we do have a really cool high school program here that has things like sports, and we kind of do some fun things. So why not come and check us out? So it's kind of a multi-pronged effort. It's not going to happen overnight, unfortunately. I set a goal for 380 this year for enrollments, which was 20 higher. And, unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to hit that. But we're going to figure that out moving forward and I was talking with Stephen today about a marketing committee of adults to kind of think about how can we do a better job of marketing the secondary campus and really on both campuses. But I think there's more of an established kind of marketing program on the on the primary campus, on the elementary campus. So how can we kind of support our growth at the secondary campus, with some of the talent that we have in our building, which we do have talent for that in our building. So, again, won't happen overnight, but we are working at it. We are aware of it and trying to rectify the problem.
I had a question on that.
I was just going to ask John, is this like an open house type event for the public to come in and learn about stuff?
Yeah, I mean, we've only contacted people that have shown expressed interest before. Yeah. But if you know people that are looking,
I'm also just thinking, like you mentioned, internal, students and the retention of those. Inviting them or their parents to come would probably be good. I mean, I speak personally. My daughter's in 8th grade going into 9th, and we obviously know the program very well, but it'd be easy to have. I'm sure there's parents out there that just maybe don't understand all the details and ins and outs of it as it compares. So, I would treat graders like they're, on the wait
I'd
list.
like to have an 8th grade transition kind of night, like, hey, listen, or just kind of like, or just I'll make it very much, very apparent to them about, hey, we're differentiating the 7th and 8th grade from the 9th, 10th, and the 11th, 12th. I would like to kind of, again, create that experience that 8th graders can see on the horizon. And for the 9th grade, so we can say, oh, listen, we're already taking high school classes. And these, we're going to be with other high schoolers and things like that. So we've already started changing like some lunches and things like that for some of those 9th graders that really, need it, so so the eighth graders can see it. So we're trying to do some things explicitly, but also I'd love to, if you have any ideas, Brett, I'd love to
Yeah,
pick your brain.
I'm happy to chat with you because like I said, as a eighth grade parent, like we're going through that process and we've given my daughter the opportunity, hey, think about what you want to do. Where's the right place for you? And, so I'd love to, happy to chat with you about like what's going on in just as a
Yeah,
parent and as a student, like I
I
think
love
there's
it.
some
I
opportunity.
love it.
But I would say if you're hosting event, like recruit your internal families, invite them to come as well if you have the capacity for it, for at least
I
like.
think I do, and maybe like even if it's like an eighth grade parent night or something like that to
Yeah.
start building that toward the end of the year to get them excited for high school and
But
and
I
maybe
mean, I
even
would
have
think about it now before they start making decisions to go to switch
Yeah.
to a
Yeah.
traditional
So
school.
we'll start.
That'll probably happen in the next
Start our transition.
couple months, right?
Yeah, because we'll
Yeah.
start doing class scheduling and all of those kind of things and looking at the schedule. So yeah, we'll definitely have that before.
We are looking at, Cindy and I have already discussed about what master schedule looks like next year. I'd really like to get master schedule done by February, kind of early, so we can kind of set those parameters and start getting the class, the curriculum guides done, so eighth graders can start to see what high school things are available to them by spring break. So
Yep.
I want to do it early as opposed to
Yeah,
later.
that's great.
Well, and I don't know if you could even post this to the current social media pages to offer it for even outside families, so if you're interested in checking out what our high school experience looks like, some sort of post there for any of the social media outlets that the high school currently uses, then they might have friends that like, oh, hey, if you want to come to our school, you should
Yeah,
do
for
that.
sure.
Right.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to close it off to those possibilities either, especially if we're trying to build that list.
And Kiana did send me a message as far as this campus, because we are down, even in lower L by 4 students, but she has, she's working to fill 10 spots. 6 people already completing the registration packets. And then, they're working with the rest. And so the goal is by FTE that we have it full back here again.
Where were we at with last FTE? Are we down from last FTE or are we
Yeah.
down at that FTE as well?
Down.
So we need to get back up or
Yes.
we have a,
So you'll
risk.
see here in a minute, I went ahead and adjusted our budget for current numbers.
okay.
And so we had to, because I am not one that's gonna
Sure.
wish, like, it's like, this is where we're at and this
Yeah.
is why we're,
Yeah.
so.
Guys, as you recall, we lost 2 upper L teachers. Thankfully, we've been able to hire one and she got cleared and was able to begin with us on Monday. Forgot to mention that. It was in too small writing on my notes. But Miss Alexandria joined Mandela on Monday, and everyone in those groups is doing really, really well.
Yes, and so to piggyback off, that was the next thing about upper L. So Kathy already shared that we were lucky enough to find one teacher. And then, just a big shout out to our upper L for their willingness to take on extra students. I know that's tough and then also to our parents, thank you for being patient. Like, it's not an easy to transition, and trust us and the staff to do whatever possible for that transition for your student. It was not the situation that we wanted, but I just appreciate all the staff here for being patient, but also our parents.
I did have one other comment. Back to, we're seeing that attrition from 8th into 9th. If we have like a good understanding from the students of like what's kind of like, what are they attracted, like why are they, we had like, I'm just thinking like a focus group or something just to, or do we feel like we do have a good understanding of why?
I think Cindy is pretty good about knowing, especially that. So her and I've had conversations over that. And then also the teachers have been really good to say, hey, we're losing these kids. A lot of it is the course offerings. When you go to a traditional school or somewhere else, you can specialize, you have more electives, you have more athletics. And so it's definitely trying to, yes, we'll never be able to compete with a larger program, but what we do offer. So it's kind of like with Stephen and John looking at CTE and how do we build our CTE program. So for kids who are interested in that career and technical side of things, that we're offering that to them. We'll never have, I don't say we'll never will. It'll be a long time before we have a football team, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But how can we?
I can
offer
coach it.
students? The insurance is too high. We don't have that. But so I definitely think there's some that is just, I don't like it here and I don't want to be here, but
Yeah.
a lot that we'll do the exit survey it's around what we have to offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's trying to
if
show,
I,
and like you said, showcase, hey, this is a great place too.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I mean, that's, at the end, they've already decided if there was anything
Yeah.
proactively, we were halfway through their 8th grade year of like,
Yeah.
what could we do to attract you to stay to 9th grade?
Right. So like this year, we have budgeted 88 8th graders and we have 75. So, that's where we've taken it. But now, believe it or not, our 9th graders, we're only one off.
Okay.
So it's, and we knew we would see a little bit of a hit, because of the move over for 7th and 8th grade. So even 7th grade is down, we budgeted 87, we're at 75. So we knew it would take a little bit of a hit, but, I want them to stay, but I also want to have a reserve of people wanting to get in. So it's a combination of things.
one of the things that we're working on long-term is when Heather mentioned, CTE, we are looking at some more high school offerings as well, because we have the culinary class already embedded. So how can we get that to be kind of, well, number one, revenue positive, but also kind of celebrate and get kids to have something that when they leave here, not only would they have a high school diploma, but how can they have something that shows that they're career and college ready? So one of the things I've asked Lily Hastings to do, and she's graciously said that she would do it, is to look at taking the Serve Safe certification, which is what the food handler, right? That's what you need to have front, kind of like baseline, like a line chef, right? So something that take that exam so she can get certified in it, so she can start to work with her students to get them certified, so they can go out and say, hey, listen, I'm working, I'd like to go work at right down the street from us is the Bamboo Garden, and we can go cook for them or something like that to make some money in high school. So, we are trying to play that up to make sure that kids know that we do some really cool stuff here as well. So that's kind of a long-term plan to offer that and some more like Adobe products as well, because we have Art Studio. So look at maybe some Adobe and things like that, just again to kind of build that interest and generate those hard skills that kids need in order to be successful later on.
The other thing on there is academics. I know John shared a little bit, but I'm going to bring to you kind of the breakdown of the data. What we're definitely going to focus on growth. That's my biggest thing that I, at the beginning of the year, talked to principals about was it's about growth. And I know that's one piece of data, and I don't want to put all of our eggs on one piece of data, but it's also a big piece of data. And so we still have to say, unfortunately, this is what we're judged off of. And if you go back to our enrollment, it would be hard to convince me that parents don't look at our school grade and our, when deciding where they want to bring their kid. I know that's not the only thing, and it's not the most important thing, but I know in my heart that that we can be the best Montessori program and still meet and be an A-rated school. And there's nobody can convince me different of that. So I really think, so that's going to be one piece of data that we'll definitely break down and share. And then we'll be working with staff to say, how can we continue to implement Montessori with the best standards? Now, on a whole nother side is insurance. I submitted some lengthy documents to you all, and I know you probably did not have time to read through all of them. Stephen, Lily, and I met with David Arch on Monday afternoon to kind of have him to review the documents for me, because I'm going to be honest, there was things in there I'm like, what are you talking about? And so he explained the difference, and I have Stephen and Lily on here so they can correct me if I'm wrong on these things. But if you look through that on some of the things that they said they would cover versus some of the things they weren't, they were very clear to say, we will not cover things that look like a maintenance issue. So for example, the high school had water coming through the front door. They noticed that the sill was not closed all the way. So to them, that's a maintenance issue. They said the roof leaks. If it doesn't have like a puncture or a hole, then to them, that's a maintenance issue. Their big one was our,
They were looking for a puncture or a hole.
yeah, wasn't that what he said? Like they had to have it.
The technical term was like penetrating the building, like puncturing the structure of the building.
Yeah.
So we're talking about like a window being blown out, a roof being ripped off,
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah. Same thing with the conduit issue. They don't feel like that was due to hurricane directly related, that was also a construction issue, that there should never have been a cap not capped. And so they would not cover the water damage. So the only way they would cover, say, the materials and items would be if it was caused by something that would be directly related to hurricane, but it wouldn't be that if it again was a maintenance issue, they wouldn't cover what happened. And so as he went through that, that was kind of their explanation of why they would say certain things would be covered and not. So the things, as you may have read in there, that was covered was the fence, the
Yep.
tree,
Yep.
those things that that were not our big ticket items. Now, luckily, the primary building didn't require the total gut job that it was, we thought. We are going to continue to monitor that, but at least it wasn't that. Where I will own it, when looking at the deductible, there's a section in was it a 300-page document?
Yeah, at
That,
least.
yeah, that said deductible is $10,000, but that wasn't in wind and hail. So we're actually at a 2%. So I apologize
What's
for
our
that.
total policy? What's the
Different
2% of?
Yeah,
you
so
know?
it was like 142,000.
Okay, that's what I thought I was reading in this document. It was like 160 or 100.
Yeah, and I told him, one of the things he explained was, it's not like in a homeowners, you have like something happens and it's just the policy. Well, for commercial, it's broken down by area. So it was so much for wind damage, so much for,
Mhm.
those. So the deductible varied depending on what that overall coverage
Yeah.
was.
It's one of the most complicated documents I've ever read because you have what your actual coverage is, and then you have 26 pages of addendums at the end
Yeah.
telling you exceptions to what they've already outlined. But if I can, I want to, we suffered some losses for sure. But I want to draw back to the positive in the middle of that mess. As a leadership team, we made a couple really smart, really good decisions without a whole bunch of information that prevented a ton of damage to that building. Yes, we'll keep monitoring it, but we got it cleaned up. And that was our community. That was our parents being there. That was Heather emptying wetbacks. So as a team, even though the policy wasn't really there to support us the way that, we'd like to think insurance was, as a leadership team and as a staff, I'm really proud of the way that we made really good decisions with really bad data. And we also didn't leverage ourselves into, a really bad financial position where, we had contractors coming in saying you have to rip the entire building apart, right?
Yeah.
There was no reason to do that. So we made some really great decisions, and I think we need to remember that.
So now that we have this information, and Stephen, maybe I can connect with you on this, but I had been looking into the FEMA grant that's only for things that weren't covered by insurance. So that may be another
Yeah.
avenue if there's not.
Yeah.
If y'all don't have, I'm definitely no insurance expert. So if there's other avenues to pursue to get any of it covered by insurance, but if not, we do have that avenue as well, where we can take the things that were caused by the hurricane, but are not being covered by our insurance. We can work with
It
FEMA.
sounds like nothing's being covered. by
Nothing is,
insurance.
nothing is,
Nothing.
okay.
That's
We paid
right,
everything
right?
out.
Yeah.
Jeez, and what was the total?
I mean, they
what
would
was
cover
on
it, but
there,
we would
I
have to
think we
pay.
Totaled up, it was probably
deductible's
about
too high.
45,000 total.
45,000 and our
Yeah.
deductible is like 160.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
It would've been-
So, yeah, because we, the lights,
Yeah.
And that was one of
Okay.
the things that we didn't notice until afterwards, but again, if you look at our deductible, it wouldn't have made a difference.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
But I think grants would be a
Yeah.
great avenue to
Yeah.
explore now
Yeah.
to cover some of that.
I've already set us up in the system. I've gotten us approved as a nonprofit. I've got the login and everything and was just waiting for this. So,
Perfect.
so that's ready to go and we can,
Yeah,
and we can
great.
pursue that.
Great.
Great. Yeah. So, so another set of eyes will be on it. We are gonna meet again with Mr. Arch, and have Stephen and Lily, and he's gonna go through the policy yet again, because, I wanna make sure that I understand it, fully. So we'll do that again, this next week. And, but
Is there any word back from Building Hope on the construction issue being the culprit here?
no,
They're
they kind of just, they sent out the construction, or they had the construction guy to email me. I sent everything, then I followed back up, and then he was like, well, we'll try to be out. And then it was just, I mean, not that it will ever go
Yeah.
anywhere,
Yeah.
but I do, after talking to Mr. Arch, he even said it probably won't help, but, even a letter saying, hey, I mean, because here's the thing, those conduits are not even on our plans. Like, we don't even have as-built plans
I
that
think-
have those on it.
I think that's my frustration as the ops director is, again, we're tasked with making good decisions with limited data, right? That's what directors and managers do. I don't have a set of as-built plans. So, we had a ton of support coming from our construction companies and stuff. We're looking at plans as water is intruding into the building, and I can't tell you where those conduits go, right? So even to get those as-built plans would give us another piece, and it would kind of assure us.
that it was taken care of.
Did
Yeah.
you talk
What we
to
needed-
Element Construction?
I have spoken with, I don't have all of their names. I contacted and emailed the people who do our plan, who did the plans, and I don't have that name in
Oh,
front of
it's,
me. Kathy
Well, the
actually. gave me
architect
name.
for that
Yeah.
Yeah,
was Ziskovich.
yes, that's who I contacted.
And
I
then
even spoke to his secretary.
Did you talk to the engineers that did the civil engineering?
And then,
CPH?
let me go back and see, I can tell you who
It's the guy's
Justin
name. His name was
put us
Aaron.
in contact
Yeah.
with.
They did send an electrician out to basically look
Z
at it.
Development.
They didn't do the,
They did the.
they didn't do the original
one.
construction.
That was the,
No, the CPH was the civil engineers for
yeah.
that building and this building.
Yeah, and I went.
Yes, we've received an update below from Element and Caldwell. That was another one.
Caldwell did the low voltage, like all the wiring and
Well, that's where it's in, right? Isn't it?
it could have been in that, but like I don't know that conduit. I don't know where that goes. Like, but
So it runs out to the street. It was built for.
should go to for fiber or
Well, no, it was designed, as best I can tell, right? It was designed for originally, I think there was a plan to put primary 2 behind primary 1.
Mhm.
So it was built for future construction, which is why they were empty. But what the electrician who came out and met with me, forgot his name, but I can find it for you. What he said was, it should have been capped.
Yeah,
You never bury conduit uncapped in Florida,
right,
but it's buried by the time they do the inspection on it,
yeah.
and
They'll
things
be
get
looking
missed.
underground to double check work.
And I mean, the building was built in what, 2017?
yeah.
And we just happened to get a 100-year rain. That doesn't excuse it. We've physically dug down and capped those pipes. It will never happen again.
Yeah.
But I wish that it had been prevented when they built the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, so from the Caldwell Engineering, that I guess, he had said the, Leon was the electrical person.
Leon, yes, thank you.
He said he met with the school personnel and regarding to the 3 spare conduits and water issue. The ends near the road is at a much higher elevation than the school. Couple that with the amount of water we experienced resulted in water issue. 2 conduits are capped as noted in pictures you provided to us and no longer an issue. The other conduit contains the telephone data cable from the service provider. Leon suggested a product that would seal both ends of the cable in place. We are happy with that, and they were happy with that and said we would install ourselves. But then Steven sent a huge big letter like, no, we're not happy with that. Like, that's not, and then it's been crickets ever since. So,
Is there any value there in pushing a legal piece to recoup?
I think so. I think the failure to cap the conduit is a negligent, is a workmanship. The problem is that you've got a 7-year statute of repose on construction defects. So you have a certain amount of time from when you discover it.
Past that. Yeah.
We're good there. But even if you don't discover it, there's a period after which, you know, the claim dies. It was 10 years for a very long time, and a couple of years ago, part of our tort reform was to shorten it to 7. So I think we're now at like 7.5 maybe, if it was built in 2017. Some of the structures here were built before others, so it might be worth looking at, but we'd want to get right on that.
That one was built
I
first.
think that-
Yeah.
Yeah, that one, I think it was finished in 2017.
17.
I think so too.
Which means it's 7 point something years old. You know, and you know, when that clock starts ticking, could have been, you know, at CO, or could be after some additional work was done post CO. I don't know when that conduit was installed. If there was anticipated continuing construction work back there, so it's worth looking at. But that's your best claim. I mean, the response from your insurance carrier does not surprise me at all. I never thought we would get anything from insurance. But, because it's not windstorm damage, it's
Yeah.
flood damage. But I think you do have a good claim, it's just too old of a claim. But nevertheless, it's worth an analysis. I think a lawyer who does that kind of work on a contingency fee basis, which is normally how they would do it, would be happy to at least turn over a couple rocks on that.
Do you have like, can you all, like, after this, get with me and say who would we even
Sure.
contact? And like, cause do you go through Arnold Law Firm and have them to talk, or will we just do it on our side? Like,
We
whatever.
could just do it ourselves, I think.
Okay.
I don't
So
think they would.
that lunch meeting that you're gonna have with me?
Yeah, we'll do that. I mean,
Okay.
if it was, you know, final inspections and CO in 2017, I wouldn't have your hopes up.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really the biggest updates.
But do you have like a final like impact of what we've spent to mitigate all
so
of that?
Lily
So
has
knowing
that. We
like,
can,
we didn't do everything that was like potentially on the
No,
table, like
no,
what was our impact to that?
Yeah. Lily, would you, I think you're on here, would you kind of look at your notes and see what that final impact number was?
Yeah, just give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, Lily's been great about, she has every picture, every
Yeah.
piece of documentation, every invoice that we can sit down and look at what
Yeah.
the overall number was. So while she's doing that, just interrupt me, Lily, whenever you get it. I'm gonna go on to the budget revision. I copied for you guys the new proposed budget. You will see it is based off of our current FTE number. So I did go ahead and adjust that. And like I said, if we go back up, which I hope that we do, then we'll definitely be a nice surprise. But I didn't want to go off of that.
Where
And
is that?
so,
Under, get a good next.
oh, I'm sorry.
Third,
Oh, there,
item.
wait. Okay, sorry.
So you'll see everything was adjusted as far as the state sources, and revenue, except for, VPK funding and school lunch. Those numbers were just updated now that we have the projection of, well, we had the first part of the year and then the second part of the year we projected. And then the same thing with federal grant, that ESSER, just so you know, that wasn't in our original budget, but that was the carryover that, because they didn't pay us until late. So that really, if you look at our audit information, was actually June money, because so that since it was such a large money, they put it back on that. But it was on our records for July, if you look at our budget. So that's kind of how they did it.
But it's not surplus.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's over.
It was spent.
Yeah, it was spent. And then if you look at our local sources, same thing, we projected, now that we know where we're at with CASA, base revenue, all of those things have been updated to project the first part of the year and then, you know, just kind of plan out for what the next 6 months would look like.
Did we do better with supply fees this year?
We did. Yeah, I know. We still have a few outstanding, and I think Lily and Stephen are getting together to finalize that on school pay, and then we'll get a letter out to them, but definitely better than in the past. And then the rest, as you'll see, is just broken down. I know on our original one, it was condensed just 5,100 and gave you the total. I went ahead and gave you kind of what each code was for that. And so you'll see there, our biggest adjustments because of our enrollment that's down is one, if you think we're short a teacher at upper L, but we're also short students. So that kind of crossed itself out. And then we have had some teachers to resign. And so those positions that we didn't have to fill, we have not filled. And so that has helped with our budget to not have to non-renew anybody at this time. And then as far as supplies, we went ahead and looked at, say, 5,100 again is instruction. So like 5,100, 510 are just general classroom supplies. We said, okay, we pretty much bought or purchased the majority of the year. We left us some wiggle room, but then removed the excess. And so that's how we started moving money around. So we did pull down, like we had in 5,100, 590, no, I'm sorry, 520. We had allotted some additional book money that we didn't end up having to use. So what you'll see is a lot of that extra money that we did have, which was very, very little, we moved to say our operations side because, you know, we do want to make sure we have enough for summer repairs. That is the one thing that I think last year being tight and then the years previous, we've kind of let go of the maintenance side of our buildings. And so the whole maintenance team now has done an excellent job, but we definitely want to make sure the buildings are painted this year because they haven't been painted thoroughly in the last couple of years. And a lot of those maintenance things that we put off. And so some of that money that, you know, we kind of shifted over or kept in the maintenance budget. And so that's where that is.
Are we doing better with needing substitutes at this point? Like I remember like 2 years ago, that was a real big issue for us, but I haven't heard much of that.
Really good. The principals have done great. I know it's not what's like, I know that the teachers, it's hard. But like, for example, if we have a teacher assistant out, we just do not get a sub for them. Like we try to always keep 2 adults in the room, but we definitely so far our substitute costs compared to years past.
Yeah, it looks way down.
Better. Yeah, like we're talking $100,000.
Yeah, no, that's what I know.
So definitely, I know it's hard and, you know, and I say all of this, like, I feel like all I do is talk money and I'm like, people are gonna hate my guts because all I'm like, no, we don't have money for that. But I want to make sure they have what they need, but yet we're good stewards of our money.
What is the contractual services for school board? 7,100, 310, there's like 54,000.
That is your
Zoom.
We put audit stuff under there
Okay,
because that's what it was coded for.
Lily, I was going to pull it up to know exactly what was in there. Yes. So that is our audit, and I don't think it's just audit.
Yeah, I remember when we did that.
Probably some software or docs potentially.
It's Arnold Law Firm.
Oh.
It is
Got it.
our labor attorney.
That
and
makes
our
more
audit.
sense.
Attorneys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I would assume 7,500 fiscal services, is that building hope?
Yes.
That's their contracted services.
I have the numbers for what we've spent on hurricane stuff. So the total we have spent so far is 32,167,000. You know, that includes like tree removals, plumber, all that kind of fun stuff, and smaller items that we had to replace as well, like classroom rugs and so on and so forth. As far as things we've reported for losses, which was mostly primary, that is coming close to $5,000. that we were hoping the insurance would cover as well.
Yeah, those were like all of the supplies.
Yeah.
That got wet and those kind of things.
Okay. Yeah, so Lily and Steven, I'll connect with you both. I'll reach out and we can set up a time to
Yeah.
look through that.
And Kate, you do have access to the folder, right, that I shared?
yeah.
Okay, so everything's in there. You're gonna see all the invoices and any document that has to do with the hurricane. It's
Okay.
all in there for you as well.
Okay, great. And I mean, are we pursuing the insurance to cover the things that they will cover, even like the
Yeah, we
trees?
don't make their
Deductible.
deductible.
Yeah. 'cause
Oh,
we
oh,
Deductible's too high.
right, okay.
can be with
Yeah.
Like I
And,
said,
and a lot of those other ticket items, again, were because of the water and stuff like that,
Yes.
and they won't
Okay.
cover that.
We can look at those characterizations.
Uh-huh.
At the same time, we look at the construction negligence.
Okay,
It's worth looking at.
yeah, no,
I
I
wouldn't
appreciate
have
it.
high hopes.
yeah,
Mhm.
So it looks like the total budget is about $156,000 bigger,
hmm
but the net income is only about $8,000 less
right.
because we're able to pick up some of the additional expenses with additional revenues.
Mhm.
One of the big ones that you'll see in the financial reports, which are a couple months old, but we're well ahead on extended care and some of these other local sources of revenue that we hadn't budgeted for, and they really do
Yeah.
help.
Right.
And the ESSER is an accounting trick, but that helped
Yeah.
as well. So
Mhm.
the total, at the bottom of the sheet that you're showing going to reserves is almost exactly the same as it was with the original version of the budget.
Yeah.
It's a happy thing.
Yeah.
Good.
$8,000 is barely material when you're talking about an $11 million budget.
Yeah.
Well, you just said you had a $32,000 impact of
Mhm.
storm damage and stuff
Right.
too, so that's.
Yeah, it took.
Yeah, but I hate dipping into that sale, like, no, we
Yeah, I
gotta
know.
save that, we gotta meet that covenant, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, though, I know it puts an impact on both buildings and the principles of not replacing like MTSS, so we have to be creative of what that looks like.
Mhm.
But I can't justify posting that position knowing that then I'm gonna have to cut another one. You know what I mean? Or we have to dip into our reserve, and so it's. and I
Is it
don't
something
wanna
you
do
feel like you can backfill going into next school year?
That's
To
my
get
goal,
enrollment back to
so-
where we want it and,
Yeah, so if we can get enrollment back, honestly, if we can get enrollment back and we can get to an A school, I
Yeah.
feel very comfortable and, because I look at the incentive on the A school and actually John educated me a little bit more on the Florida side of that, that goes back to our staff. So
Yeah.
that's
Mhm.
also an increase to our
Yeah,
staff. So that
they get a
money.
bonus off of
Yeah.
that.
Right,
Yeah.
that money isn't
Yes.
like just it doesn't go to our operations, it goes to them, which is
Yeah.
what they deserve for
Yeah.
all of the
Yes.
hard work.
Yeah.
So I also look at that side of it
Yeah,
too, that for it.
so barring any unforeseen circumstances, you anticipate the staffing to be steady for this semester. We're not looking to replace.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, that would be the last thing I want to do
Okay.
is cut staff now. Now, if we get into a panic and enrollment just plummets, then I may have to say, hey, but we were able to make it work by changing some things and then saying, okay, we'll wait until next year to do something that we need to fix. Not emergency, but like, hey, we need to spruce up.
Kathy, where's our wait list for lower L and upper L? Do you know?
I do not have those numbers right in front of me right now, Stacy, but I did jot them down last week someplace. I can email them to you, but I checked with Cindy and we were about the same this time last year as we are right now.
Okay.
So we have a decent number of people on the wait list.
Um,
And applications for next year. Sorry, that's what I meant to say.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, I know, Kathy, I was looking for that. I know Cindy sent that to us and I have that. I want to say 175 total. Here it is. Comparing the first 36 days, this is applications, I'm sorry, the first 36 days of applications being open. We had for this year 245 and the year past 252. So we're only 7 less in applications.
And is that total or was that just secondary?
That's that would just be IMO, correct, Kathy? I think that's what you asked her for.
Yeah.
I think that's both. I think that's
That's
both, Heather. I might be wrong. Yeah.
Okay, so So we definitely know marketing is our next, on that side of it, that's our next thing. So I know Stephen has already talked about that, like, hey, we actually had a conversation yesterday about it and so I want to get with the building principals and us really start to market, getting out there and showcasing.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know, word of mouth is traveling too. So if we can say that our program is strong and parents are speaking about how the program is strong and kids are learning and making progress, then, you know, I think that
Right.
then that will carry on. So
So that's it for me, but I think we will need an updated approval on the updated budget.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Decision and vote. Yeah.
I move to approve the updated budget as presented.
A second.
Okay. Yeah, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, budget is approved.
Are you guys getting metrics from reporting from Building Hope that'll show us variances to this budget now as we go forward, or
Get to that
we're
in
still
just a
waiting
second.
on
I
that?
think that they're getting anything.
Well, we have November financials.
There was a large line in
I
that.
mean, does
I
that
mean, are we
need that,
looking
is
to
that a
discontinue that
finance
service
committee
at this point?
decision, or does that need to be,
Now,
We'll talk.
Yeah, as soon as
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So, we were able to, and I'll let Kevin explain the budget, but just kind of where we were at. If you recall, we've talked about it before. The reports still were not clean from July to October. And Lily has worked with one of Building Hope's accountants, who I will say has been really, really good. And they were able to get them all cleaned up. So I was hoping to have clean reports. So I said, hey, they're done, let's roll. And then there was some back and forth on an email, like, well, no, they're not finished. And then Anna, who works for them, like, yes, they are, but yeah, I still don't have them. But I am happy to say that as far as the expense side, we are clean in what we have given them. So hopefully we'll get a cleaned up version before our finance committee meeting of this is truly where we're at for that. So that's kind of where we're at.
If you don't mind me jumping in real quick. Actually, one of the things that we were going through today in that email is mostly the expense side, because there's still a lot of Amazon stuff that we are tracking. But as far as all the revenue that's come in from July up till December, everything has been cleared up. It's been accounted for, and Anna and I worked extensively last week and over the weekend to make sure that everything was accurate, and reconciled accordingly. As far as the expenses, we're still going to be looking at that, but it shouldn't be that much, because it's just a few, and mostly, like I said, Amazon things. So that shouldn't take too much. And so that's on our list of things to do next, and as well as retirement. That's been another one that we're trying to track down with Trisha from Building Hope. So hopefully, we get that one done soon as well.
Yeah, so you'll see on the two reports, retirements on there, and one of the issues was they were dumping all of the retirement into one retirement code, but yet you have to break them out depending on position. So that's why it looks a little messed up. Do you want to share, Kevin? You want me to share?
Sure. I mean, I think we had a number of bookkeeping issues, and it's been frustrating. I want to make a distinction between bookkeeping issues and any kind of financial distress. Those bookkeeping issues have nothing to do with any kind of financial distress. It's just allocating various finance activities within the organization to the right codes and having them, garbage in, garbage out when it comes to reporting. And it isn't what's happened in this building, it's what's happened once we've sent it off to our bookkeepers with Building Health. I do think that the bottom lines in each of the major categories, revenues and expenses, are accurate. It's just internally, how things got allocated. Big picture though, I think the numbers we have through November show, largely the big codes, and there's a lot of subcodes under those. The big codes are pretty accurate. We were a third of the way through our year, so you'd sort of expect to be a third of the way through your budget with respect to each of those line items. We operate pretty non-linear way with some of our line items. Revenues don't come in equally, or even bonds and expenses don't come in equally, but the ones that you'd expect to be linear pretty much are. Where there are any kinds of surprises or deviations, one thing I'm really happy about is that they did a great job of footnoting this, so there's a little superscript number next to those line items with the description down at the bottom. So you'll see there's a couple things that were way off, like the 4,500% exceeding expectations on federal programs revenue. That's that ESSER line, right? Payments we saw last year. We see 100% in a few places where things got done either at the beginning of the year or unexpectedly. One of those being preparing this. Spent a bunch of money that we didn't know we were going to have to spend because of our end-of-year storm. But in any event, I think that overall, even with a couple of those surprises, some things that we had to take care of with retirement accounts, things we had to take care of with hurricane response, we did just fine. The bond ratios document, it's a rolling document. Those are not official numbers. They're going to be looked at all-important snapshot of the year that comes along with our audit report, but they show that we're on track to meet our coverage ratio and our cash on hand. Things happen throughout the year, but a lot of the big impacts had already happened by the time these November financials were generated. Most of the hurricane-related repair work is probably reflected, as well as our retirement account. All that to say, we just finished adopting the budget. The reasons we had to do that are disappointing, but it doesn't reflect any financial distress. On track to, I think, good obligation.
And just so you know, because Lily did a lot of behind the scenes on this, November, it's projected that we, of course, spent more than we made, but on the flip side for December, we're positive $12,641 more than we spent. So it is, but I think again that goes back to the reflection of we had to do hurricane stuff and that. So I do think we're definitely back. Every month we've been trying to make sure we're bringing in more than we're spending, but November we did take a hit, which is what those numbers reflect.
We did skip our PTO update.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It's okay. I have to just read it. So it's
Well, we'll finish the financial second. I think it kind of dovetailed with the budget anyway, but I do think that we're looking at ways to do better moving forward with the bookkeeping things. Financial issues take care of themselves, but Heather and I will be talking about that some more. She's been working really hard on that with Lily, doing a lot of things that we don't have time to do here in these board meetings, but we will have some new ideas on how to just administratively get those things done for the rest of the school year and in the coming year.
So we're looking at, we have some options there. Okay.
There's a finance meeting on the 28th. All are invited.
Okay. All right, that's it. All right, so I will read our PTO update. Okay, so Karen wasn't able to join us, so she sent a report to be read for tonight. So the PTO report for January 2025, Community Closet held a donation drive in December. Community Closet shopping will next be held on the Spring Arch Fest. Winterfest was held on 12/13, and it was a hit with a full house of student makers. We're in the membership drive and hoping more parents will join us. Winter membership drive runs through 1/17. There's incentives that have been communicated around that.
Get your Stanleys.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah, nice.
I like that owl shirt too.
And a blanket.
And people can join at www.ptoowls.com. PTO is still recruiting for positions, correspondence chair and for secretary. Gardening efforts continue on both campuses on a monthly basis. Mural on Lakewood campus is nearing completion. I love it, by the way. I see it. Rebase pickup. We plan to highlight it at the Spring Arts Fest. Family Stride, Ride, and Balance Challenge is set for January 25th on Lakewood campus, and hoping for many families to come out and play while we fundraise for athletics. All grades and families welcome to participate. And we're also seeking sponsors for that event. IMO will join again this year in walking for Martin Luther King Jr. Unity Parade in Ocoee on Monday, January 20th. Please meet up at 9 a.m. in the parking lot of the secondary campus. Parade begins at 10 a.m. across the street at Citrus Elementary and ends at West Oaks Mall. The Someone Special Dance is coming up on February 8th for our Upper L and Lower L students. Tickets will be sold starting tomorrow. No tickets sold at the door for this event, held at the secondary campus cafeteria. And the Spring Arts Fest is set for March 1st at the Lakewood campus, so save the date. Many fun things planned at this free event. Winter membership drive incentives. Okay, then it has that picture. So thank you for that update, Karen.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, so that brings us to our board discussion around the public comment guidelines. I think there was some new guidance that came out about public comment. So we have our public comment guidelines always attached in our meeting.
Yeah, it was in reference to like the freedom of speech piece of it on that. And what did Arnold recommend, that we just add that to our instructions?
I think so. Well, it says you should have a policy. You should have if you read.
I think we do. We
Yeah.
have a policy. I think we're in compliance.
Yeah.
Is it the
Said-
community member attendance and participation guidelines?
Have all key terms clearly defined.
We do not have that.
Okay.
That was the one thing, but
Yeah.
I mean, the dictionary is long.
Yeah.
How do you choose which keywords?
Well, I
So
guess
you have to have abuse of speech defined in there
Okay.
of what that is.
Yeah.
do
what
we
are the
have
other big
abusive
things?
speech mentioned in our guidelines? I don't think we do. But do we, this is guidelines, is that enough? As if it's not considered like labeled policy, I guess just back up on that one.
It says in there, our guidelines should be the amount of time they can address the board.
Yeah, we got
And
that.
then procedures for allowing representative of groups, like if they're all going to talk about the same thing instead of listening to all of individuals.
We don't talk
That
about
was
that.
like number 2. Procedures or forms of individuals to use in order to let the board know they want to be heard, to indicate his or her support, opposition. So, I mean, I know we tell them they can talk, but I don't know, do we, like, it says you can do procedures or forms, but.
So we have that they go to the chat if they want to talk to be unmuted, and then they can also email the secretary
Read aloud.
and it has to come in by 6 o'clock.
It has to be with a name, I think.
Yeah, it can't be anonymous.
And the guidelines say at least 1 hour prior to the meeting. So
Yeah, before we ever did online meetings too, like you had to come ready, you had to sign up to speak if you're coming to the meeting to speak in public. So like, I think that's the same thing with saying you have to give us a heads up ahead of time that you're planning to speak. It's like you're registering to speak.
I mean, we could just add a piece on abuse of speech here and kind of define that based on what they've already sent us. I mean, don't they already have this written? I would imagine that they've already.
I'm sure they do. I mean, I can definitely. I can spend the money, yeah.
But I guess I interpreted that
I can co-pilot.
if you have abusive speech
ChatGPT.
in your
Yeah.
policy, you have to define it. Like,
Yeah, it does. I think that's how I read it too.
yeah, I don't
Define
think
what-
we have like,
Yeah, if you go down because it gave the example of why, you know,
Right.
but it does talk about in the request too, that it, to indicate, like, if you're supporting, like, what that is, like beforehand, before.
Why
the
don't
meeting.
I refresh our policy and I'll bring it up back next month.
There you go.
awesome.
I mean, none of this is the result of a change in the law. I don't think those things have been in the sunshine law forever. The one thing that we've always had the opportunity to do, but have never done is this factions thing where if there's a million people talking on the same topic, you can have people identify themselves to a certain group and then designate a representative.
We just listen to them for hours and hours.
We've always just listened to
Yeah.
them, which I actually think is
Fine,
is good policy.
Yeah, I don't think
And then
there's something we need
I've been
to hear
here
it.
doing this
Yeah.
for 5 years and we've had a grand total of 4 hours of public comment.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I agree.
I'm not, I'll bring back an option for us to consider.
Do you think we should add something to explicitly state that all opinions are welcome, or? It seems to be implied, but
Yeah, I mean, this chapter 286 requirement is that you allow comment on matters, on propositions before the board, before they're adopted.
yeah.
Mhm.
And so, it's kind of gratuitous to let people talk on whatever they want. The
I
vast
think-
majority of sunshine boards do it, just because it's why we're here, we
Yeah,
want to hear
right.
what people have to say.
I guess I've mentioned, and I think I was following Kristen's lead of like, that it has to be relevant to our agenda. I mean,
I think our guidelines do.
They don't speak to that.
I've got them up in here.
I mean, I deal with I represent dozens of sunshine boards, and what almost all of them do is we'll take comment either at the very beginning or the very end on matters that aren't on the agenda. And with respect to something that's on the agenda, just for everyone's convenience, you take the comment at the time that item is being
Yeah.
discussed. So the board hears the presentation of the agenda item, and then, I mean, if you're following parliamentary rules, you take a motion, a second, you have a discussion, and then you ask the public if they have anything to say about it. If our public speaks up through comments or is here in person, then they would have the opportunity to speak on those agenda items. But I think our guidelines do say there's a free-for-all comment period at the beginning, which is what we do.
It
And then
doesn't say that. It says these items will be determined at the board's discretion and will be either one, at the beginning of the meeting, comments should be focused on agenda items, and or number two, prior to the designated meeting agenda items where votes are conducted, and comments should be focused on items that are up for voting. So we don't have a free for all.
I think that
in
meets
the
the
guidelines,
requirement.
but yeah.
yeah.
We've allowed.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Because it's just.
Have you ever stopped anyone from saying
No.
anything? I don't.
We've just
We've
kept it
cut-
at
we've cut
3
people off
minutes.
at 3
I know,
minutes.
like, why they were changing the law, I'm like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you have that,
Yeah.
know what you want.
but I think you still have to listen to it.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think larger districts, right, like you can watch, your larger school
Yeah.
districts and some of those comments are,
Right.
can be
Off the
interesting.
walls.
Yeah,
Can be interesting,
Yeah.
yeah, but
yeah, there's an advantage to being smaller.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, thank you, Kevin.
I
for-
do think it's reasonable to
tweaking.
add the language around taking public comment at the time of an agenda item. I think I'd like to make that clear, because I do know that when people come, if there are agenda items, people may not necessarily know what the discussion is gonna
Well,
be
maybe
about,
that's
so
how
we
we-
have it, and then,
Change, maybe, maybe in the beginning, we can, instead of saying, is there any open comments, or is anybody looking to speak for any of the agenda items on today's?
yeah,
And then, so after we go through that, if they say, I'm here to talk about, or I want to speak to the budget, or I want to speak to, the new picnic tables, or whatever it may be, then we know that, okay, well, after we go through that, we can, okay, now it's your time to, you have a comment, please feel free to say it before we vote on something. You want to
Yeah.
change it to that kind of piece, like practice? That sounds fair, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what I remember is that we had certain meetings that were heavily attended,
Yeah.
and we said, okay, we moved it, so the public comment was before,
Right.
like a particular vote.
Yeah.
That's how
I mean,
we.
we're fortunate, there's usually not public comment until there's public comment.
Right,
And when there's
right.
public comment,
Then we get. to
then
it,
it's
yeah.
like, we've probably had 2 or 3 scenarios in the 9 years I've been on here where we've had a
Mhm.
community, you know,
COVID
really-
was massive, right?
Yeah.
Like all the different things with that.
when we were going through
Yeah.
expansion and construction, and then when we had middle school and high school, like there's not some big events that have sparked
Mhm.
big community
Not those
involvement and
again.
input, but like those are
And you want that.
worthy of
Yeah.
the input.
That's fine, that's what you.
And it got ugly, but we just sometimes.
I think that,
Yeah.
a lot of times with bigger organizations, or if you're the county and you have 300,000 people that might
Yeah.
want to say something. But our community is supposed to be interactive, and, we do not run the school as a democracy or run the school by committee, but we do care about what all the stakeholders, whether they're parents or neighbors or whoever it might be, have to say. So I think we've always erred on the side of hearing people.
Yeah,
And I would suggest we continue doing that.
absolutely.
A lot of these things, limiting the time and limiting
Yeah,
groups of people, they're intended to shorten public comment. We don't need that right now.
no,
Right.
no, I agree, I agree.
Is there anything that we should consider to prepare for future events where we may have a wider public comment need? I mean, I don't know if there's too much to be thought through there, but I mean, as I recall, and this was before I was on this side of the board, but I mean, I think you all were very clear with, you sent out the guidelines and reminded people what was available and things like that, but yeah, maybe there's some items to set in place so you don't have to be thinking of those things in the heat of the moment. You could have some policies in place set up so it's.
Well, I mean, like, we always have the option of communicating via email
Yeah.
to either myself or the secretary, right? So you always have that option to share your concerns
Yeah.
with the board, the whole board, whoever on the board, right? Like, I would say either, definitely either to the president and the secretary or the whole board, right? Like, choose one of those options just so we make sure it gets addressed. But I feel like that will continue.
Okay.
And I think that during that time is when we see those kind of
Yeah.
come up too.
Yeah.
Right? That's when our inbox gets a little bit more full, which is fine, because that gives us perspective.
And if we do land on updated version, every time I do a Parent Square announcement, I hyperlink
Mhm.
our
Yeah,
yeah. So it's
and it's
the
here.
newest,
It's,
yeah.
I mean, like, it's become very transparent, I think.
All right, so moving along, we good to move along?
Yeah.
All right, then we go into some committee updates, including our board goals. Let's see, so
We revised those, I think.
yes, we did. So in the public content there's maintain a strong set of board members between 6 to 8. Do we want to discuss next steps here?
Yeah, since
Some
we
interested
will,
candidates.
since we're not renewing or extending Scott's term, that would then potentially open a, what are we, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, Carla? We're only at 6 right now. So then we have the potential to grow. Brett will be done in June, July. So I think that we still have the potential to continue growing for a couple more spots to be added. I would move to add a vote to the February agenda on adding the next candidate, which would be Sarah. She's met with us, and we'll just pull her in for a quick interview prior to that meeting. Hopefully no flu bug. I hope she feels better. But I would move to go ahead and add that to the February meeting. And then we'll work with our other new interested board candidates. And if anybody else is interested, reach out. But thank you for your interest and your time.
8's not max capacity, right? It's like 13 or something.
13.
Yeah, that was just like our sweet spot.
Yeah. It's a big board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's.
Gives you some buffer.
Yeah.
Anything else on the other goals
think we like
there?
to have an odd number. Don't we always try to keep an odd number? Is that just a weird thing that we've done?
Normally boards like you prefer to be odd, so you don't have, you have
They're all tied, yeah.
split votes, but
That's why we shoot for it.
Yeah,
means you have 7.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, that's exactly it. Sorry, I interrupted you, Melissa. Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say if there's anything else you wanted to update or discuss with our other goals there.
No, knowing that that Brett will also be finishing in June, we need to go ahead and continue with our cross training for succession planning as well. So just cross training our other board members to be able to take on the vice principal, sorry, I have it, vice president and secretary roles. So I think we'll just need to continue getting them familiar with different jobs there.
Okay.
One of the things that we will need to do as we're getting into the second half of the year, and I would almost ask this maybe even of our school principals, would be to look at a staffing survey of some sort to kind of just do a climate check as we're moving into the year on how our staff is doing, on how they're feeling within the school. So I don't want to put parameters on it too much, but we definitely need to get that touch point and that to know what is working in our classes, what is not working in our classes, what they feel like are their needs and priorities. And then again, does that align with our overall school priorities and goals and making sure that alignment is going in there. So I'll shift this to Heather, but also really because I think that's more of just an individual school campus kind of thing is working to if it's not created or if we could come up with something for both campuses, Heather, where we're just getting a touch point of our staff and knowing where they are.
Yep, I'll get that out this week.
Thank you. And then that will help us kind of get a little bit more on track for our yearly evaluation process too. So that'll be good. All right, I think that's all I have for board goals.
Okay. And shift to committees.
Want me to go
Yeah,
first?
sure.
Well, I'm happy to share that we've recruited 2 new members
Yay.
to our grant writing committee, which doubles the size of the
Yeah.
committee, which is great. So we had a great meeting in December, and we divided up some of our focus areas so everyone can be researching. So Marissa, we're going to be looking at technology just to see. I know that's a main focus for you as well, but we'll see what we can do to help out with classroom technology and stuff like that. We've got the gardening and outdoor grants tend to be very local and also easier ones to obtain. So we've got folks who are interested in that who are going to be driving those kinds of things. We're looking at some general training teacher support. And I'm going to be taking on those hurricane relief ones to see what we can get going there. Awesome. We're also, through our conversations, we talked about some things that really are kind of outside of the scope of grants. One thing was the picnic tables, but you all beat us to that. So great job. Yeah. And another thing that came up was Jennifer Walker mentioned wanting to look for resources to build a TV studio on the secondary campus. But one of our parents is a former film producer, and she's like, "Oh, we don't need a grant for that. We need a can of green paint and a donated camera." So we're looking at some things like that where we're able to meet some needs in a way that will save some money. And that was how I started looking at the pre-loved AstroTurf as well. When I knew we were looking at that, I'm like, maybe we can get that cheap somewhere. So we'll continue. We'll be looking at both, things that are grant worthy and things that maybe can be obtained in other ways.
Great. Awesome. Thanks, Kate. So from the development committee, we did do our annual giving kickoff in December. Like we haven't talked about it. That was like a while ago. So that's off and running, and we have we've gotten our monthly donor amount almost at $1,000 a month, which that's key because that is that like that, consistent amount coming in. So if we kind of I sent an email out, if we kind of like looked at an annual, we're at 45% of our $30,000 goal already. I'd be set up the development committee meetings. We know our newer members. I mean, Nicole, she has a background. Stephen's become really involved in those meetings because we have some plans to get that monthly giving up, and we also have that donation for that wine event for our higher end donors that we need to. Well, I need to come up with a recommendation and share that so we can get that and kind of make some more strides in that area over the next coming months.
On that Zephy, the monthly donor thing, I think it goes like, it's like small donations, like 5 or 10, and then 30, and then is there a way we could add a 50? Is that a possibility? I just feel like that might be an amount where you would get more people who would. I noticed a lot more 30s, and I chose the 30, but I'm like, oh, if there's no 50 button, is there a way? Can you choose
I'll
your
have to look.
own?
So you can write in whatever amount you want.
Okay.
I have to go back and look what the
Yeah, I just thought
defaults
that might
were.
be a number where it would be a doable number. You might get a little bit more of a bigger number there, but it's not 100, it's 50. I don't know. Just, I saw that, I'm like, oh, there's no 50.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
no, that's great.
So I don't know if we have anything else from Stacy before we wrap it up here.
Wine down Wednesday might be a good day for that. That total wine package.
Okay.
Go with the theme, right? I love the theme. No, I think that the team has done an amazing job. I think I was chatting with Stephen. I'm super excited to see him kind of step into this role. I think it's really been beneficial for both campuses to have that additional support there. So kudos to Heather for making that recommendation and making it happen, because I think that he has been key in supporting both of the schools. So I think it's just another hand in there to help take the load off that higher level stuff that just needs to be taken care of. So that's awesome. That is awesome. I hope everybody had a safe winter break and are loading up on their vitamin D's and staying flu free as much as we can. Wash your hands and drink your water. But I appreciate this team, and I know that they just problem solve. Whatever's thrown at them, they're gonna find a solution or a workaround. And I think that's one of our greatest strengths. And when you think about the Montessori principles and the Montessori focus of working with what you have and with working with your hands to figure out that final product. These staff members, the teachers, the principals, they do that every single day. So I just want to say kudos for being flexible, for making things work, and giving our students the best education we can. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your January. We will be back in February. Feel free to join if you or jump in or reach out to us if you have any questions, but have a wonderful evening.
All right. We will adjourn at 8:11. Thank you, everybody.